From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is U.S. Farm Report.
Welcome to U.S. Farm Report this Labor Day weekend. I'm Tyne Morgan, and here's what we're working on for you over the next 60 minutes. Hurricane Harvey ravaging the South, with the impact on farmers and ranchers still unknown. From historic floods to devastating drought, South Dakota farmers faced with a dire situation this year.
I can't remember a year like this.
And crop insurance won't be enough to save prospects this year. USDA painting a brighter outlook on the farm economy, but what sector is boosting the overall picture?
What we do know now that we didn't know then was how much better the livestock sector is.
And in John's world,
Fake news, it's not helping.
U.S. Farm Report is brought to you by Chevy Silverado. High-strength steel for high-strength dependability.
Now for the market-related news. Hurricane Harvey hammering the South this week with nearly 50 inches of rain falling in the heart of the hurricane around Houston. The hurricane claiming lives, destroying infrastructure, and will likely have a devastating effect on farmers and ranchers. Texas and Louisiana producers still trying to assess the damage from the hurricane. Cattle ranchers trying to get a grasp of how many of their cattle are displaced versus killed from the storm. Now, the hardest hit sector may be cotton farmers. Cotton left in the field very vulnerable to the rain and winds, with Texas A&M telling us 400,000 bales worth of cotton was still left on the stock in counties that were in the heart of the storm. But it's the crop already harvested that's also suffering. As you can see, modules setting in fields and at gins were just ripped apart and swept away, with cotton scattered for miles. Coastal Texas farmers facing one of their best crops ever, only to see it ripped away. The unprecedented rain from Harvey also creating infrastructure nightmares in Texas and Louisiana. The storm closing nearly all Texas ports, cutting off rail traffic to the Gulf Coast and flooding numerous highways. And in other news, milk producers not happy with current margin protection program can now opt out. The U.S. Department of Agriculture announcing this week it's allowing dairy farmers to exit MPP. American Farm Bureau says 24,000 dairy farmers representing 80% of the U.S. milk supply are currently enrolled in the program. However, only 2% participated in levels above the basic coverage option, with Farm Bureau saying this is proof the program isn't a viable safety option for producers. All right, those are the headlines. Meteorologist Cindy Clausen is filling in for Mike Hoffman this week. Cindy, the footage of the hurricane aftermath is just heartbreaking, but remnants of the hurricane still linger for the eastern half of the country. How long is that expected to last?
Well, Tyne, you're right. It is definitely just horrifying to see those images coming out of Texas and much of the Gulf Coast states. It is going to get better as that hurricane, the remnants of, will continue to weaken as it pushes off to the east. But take a look at the drought monitor. We have seen a significant difference over the past couple of months. The dryness now remains in mainly the northern parts of the country, especially the northern plains and into Montana. We're starting to see some dryness, though, in parts of the eastern Corn Belt. Look at what it was a month ago, where we had some dryness still in the southern plains. That's all but gone, and we are seeing just mainly that dryness remaining very stubborn in the northern plains and Montana. You can really see that expanding, especially in Montana. Here's a look at what we have for us this week. We do have a couple of fronts, one in the southeast. We'll see some unsettled weather along the Gulf Coast. We're also going to be seeing a frontal system moving through the Great Lakes with the trailing cold front. That's going to be looking at some showers and thunderstorms for those areas. Pretty warm in the western half of the country especially, but dry in the east as we head through our Monday. Until we get to Wednesday, we see that front pushing to the east. That's going to bring some much cooler air for a lot of the eastern part of the country, while that warm weather remains out in the west. It'll be fairly dry as we get into the middle part of next week and even into the latter part of next week, with high pressure in control, that front well off to the east. Southeast still seeing some showers and thunderstorms, maybe a little bit of unsettled weather in the Rockies, but with the warm air staying in the west and the cooler air staying in the east. We'll have more weather coming up later on in the show. Tyne?
All right, thanks, Cindy. Well, when we come back, we're off to the Farm Progress Show for a mixed view on crop prices in the months ahead. John Phipps talks markets with Matt Bennett, Chip Nellinger, and Bob Utterback next.
About 2 or 3 years ago,
I went ahead and I started planting nothing but Liberty, and I haven't regretted it since. We've had no problems with resistance. All the resistance mare's tail that we had out there, velvet leaf or cockleburs or pigweed, I clean up the fields. I didn't have to go back. One application took care of the weeds. If I wasn't getting control on weeds and would have to fight it all year long, I wouldn't hesitate to guess that we'd probably be losing at least 25% of yield. First time I ever used Liberty Link beans, I had it right next to Roundup beans. The Liberty Link beans were standing about twice as tall. They had twice as many pods on it. That was the thing that sold me on it. If it can do it there on that tough ground, let's just start spreading it over the whole place. And that's what I did, and I went 100% and I haven't looked back.
Attention homeowners. Quicken Loans has some very important information regarding the U.S. government's Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP. Nearly 3.5 million homeowners have already taken advantage of this fantastic money-saving program. But there are so many more of you who could be saving hundreds of dollars every month on your mortgage. Quicken Loans is here to help you save money. Why Quicken Loans? The home loan experts at Quicken Loans fully understand the HARP guidelines. We'll work with you to understand your specific circumstances and strive to find the financial solution that's best for you. Then we'll guide you through each step of the mortgage refinance process to make sure that it's both simple and easy. If you weren't HARP eligible in the past, new guidelines could mean that now you are. Give us a call and we'll give you a Quicken Loans mortgage review. It's simple and easy. To learn more about this money-saving U.S. government program, call Quicken Loans today or go to quickenloans.com for a mortgage experience that's engineered to amaze.
U.S. Farm Report on the road at the Farm Progress Show is brought to you by Channel. Find your local Channel seedsman at channel.com.
All right, I knew this would happen someday. Tyne took a look at the map and said, you know, John, you're only an hour and a half from the Farm Progress Show. Why don't you do it instead of me driving 3 hours? And so I'm filling in for Tyne this week, and we're tickled to death having our paddle good old Bob Utterback from Utterback Marketing, Matt Bennett from Bennett Consulting, and Chip Nellinger from Blue Reef Agri-Marketing. 3 veterans who are going to carry me through this. And I wanted to start out with the crop tour from last week. Now, we've talked the yields to death, but I wanted to talk to the 2 guys who were on the tour, starting with Matt here. Matt, you were on the western side. Tell me about the weeds.
Yeah, and so not only in the bean fields, but in the corn fields, significant water pressure in a lot of places. And I would say, you know, when we got into Nebraska, I think some of those guys have improved a little bit from what we've seen maybe the last couple of years, but we're still seeing some fields that are just really, really heavily pressured whenever it comes to the weeds. And so it's definitely going to have an impact on yield. But again, I didn't just see it in the bean fields. I saw it in some of the corn fields too. It's tough to get through a few of them. And so it's going to be pretty interesting to see how that impacts their yields later on.
Well, I think that's one thing. And people who came to the Farm Progress Show here in Decatur, Illinois, center of the state, drove by some fields that normally would be pristine, and they weren't. Tell us about what you saw on the eastern side.
Yeah, similar. I mean, it wasn't just the first, 3 or 4 rows either, like you normally see at the edge of a waterway or something. I mean, it was clear into the field. A lot of cornfields, you struggled to get through them. I mean, it was so weedy. And I think some of that kind of coincided with the immaturity of the crop you saw out there. So I think it was late planted fields or replanted. They had, trouble getting in early or getting back in to spray that. And clear into parts of Illinois as well. You get into western Illinois and Iowa, it seemed to get a little bit better, as you would expect, because it wasn't as late a planting season.
Right.
But, even in parts of western Illinois and Iowa, you saw pretty serious weed pressure in the beans as well. So I was talking to one farmer in my car, and he's from western Illinois. He said it took him 2 passes on sometimes, and questionably he could have gone a 3rd time spraying beans, and it's getting tougher and tougher to control those weeds out there.
It's a completely different game, and that could be one of the things that rolls into Bob. Let's take a look going forward now, and the outlook for corn and beans are not going to be tracking side by side, and one of the things could be how you're trying to deal with this weed problem in each crop.
I've been saying for a couple of months that I think this is a 93 crop year pattern. and we took off after the September supply-demand report when the combines start to run. And I think USDA's yield, historically, Rich Feltus, one of my analysts I work with, said about 3.5 bushel off from August to January is what you expect with these crops. And that puts us around 165, 166. But it's going to take time. And after that, whereas the beans, this light rain we got a good rain last night.
Well, I'm happy for you.
And I think USD is closer to reality than we accept, but the supply bearishness will be front end on beans, and then long term, the demand side for beans is going to be the bright star as we go into next year.
Well, is there any possibility that we could see even more of a shift? We saw some shift to beans this year. Do you think that as people take a look at it, the price difference will be, or cost of production will be enough that will continue to shift toward beans?
I think it's possible, especially with what wheat's done the last month and a half here. You know, we've had a huge implosion of wheat prices. Talk to producers in Kansas, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, Kentucky. Unless wheat does something pretty dramatic here the next 6 or 8 weeks, you're going to have less wheat acres again. And so I don't know if that bodes well necessarily for bean acres. I thought if you had normal wheat prices that maybe you'd see a shift out of beans to more corn. I don't know now with what wheat's done if that's in the cards. So I think there could be some big questions into spring on acreage.
Is there just too much wheat everywhere?
Well, I believe, you can grow wheat anywhere in the world, and so you're always not too far away from
not on my
harvest.
farm. We've tried, it didn't work.
Well, I would say, though, whenever we're looking at this acreage ratio, the price ratio from beans to corn, if it continues to stay in a situation where the soybeans look fairly decent, I think you got to ask yourself a couple questions. Are people going to be able to keep turning more profit on soybeans than corn, first of all? And second of all, the credit crunch that we've seen here in the last 24 months is not going away anytime soon with $3 corn. And so I think that could factor in the long run. The world is asking for more protein. They're asking for more soybeans, and that is going to continue.
Okay, we'll be right back with more U.S. Farm Report in a moment.
There's enough worries facing growers today. SDS shouldn't be one of them. Introducing Alivo, the first and only seed treatment to protect against sudden death syndrome with nematode activity. Growers get amazing early season protection for stronger profits at harvest. So worry about your equipment, or weather, or commodity prices. Don't worry about SDS with Alivo from Bayer Crop Science. Pair Alivo with Poncho Votivo for triple action protection against SDS, insects, and nematodes.
You each drive a Ford pickup, right?
Yes, sir. I have a Ford F-150. I've always been a Ford guy.
I have a real treat for you today.
Awesome.
I'm going to show you a next generation pickup.
Let's do this.
This new truck now has a corner step built right into the bumper.
Super cool.
The bed is made of high-strength steel, which is less susceptible to punctures than aluminum.
Aluminum is great for a lot of things, but maybe not the bed of a truck.
And best of all, this new truck is actually
Oh, my.
the current Chevy Silverado.
I'm speechless. This puts my poor truck to shame. I tell you, I might be a Chevy guy now. Yeah.
Find your next piece of machinery with the most trusted name in farm equipment. MachineryPete.com has more than 100,000 pieces of machinery listed for sale from thousands of dealers across the country. It's the fastest site to find and value your next piece of used equipment. Shop with the most trusted name in farm equipment at MachineryPete.com.
When each new day begins, we're here. When you want new technology that's tested and proven, we're here. When you need a sounding board or just a good story, we're here. For an ally whose local roots run as deep as yours, or to make next year the best year yet, we'll be where we've been all along, with you from the word go.
U.S. Farm Report on the road at the Farm Progress Show is brought to you by Channel. Find your local Channel seedsman at channel.com.
Okay, we're back at the Farm Progress Show here in Decatur, Illinois, in the Channel Seed Tent. Tickled to death to be here. It's not too hot, which is unusual for August in Decatur. And as we left, we were talking about the cost of production becoming one of the factors of what happens next year. And that cost of production, what are you hearing from your clients, Bob, about how they're coping with how do I grow corn for 280 or something.
I'm already getting farmers calling the proverbial question. I got land coming up for cash rent. What can I pay for it? And when the numbers come out, 275, 300 for 200 bushel corn. When you go through the numbers, they're 20 cents to 30 cents in the hole before they even start. So it's a real tough issue. When do you let land go? Or when would it be better to be long December corn at 340 or 330 than to cash rent at $300 plus land? And that's the only way we're going to get better profitability is we're going to have to get our input costs, and I don't see that happen. So I think a margin squeeze is coming, which leads to the bigger question. We can get bullish when farmers don't have corn in the bin as we come into April, May. Will that happen this year or next year? And I don't think it's going to happen this year, unfortunately. I don't think farmers still got enough cash flow reserve. Stock ratios are about 14%. In the 80s was 23, 25. So we still got a lot of money, even though the debt's high. Our debt to equity ratios are still in pretty good shape.
We can burn through that pretty fast, though, can't we, Matt?
We've been burning through a lot of equity here the last couple, 3 years. It's definitely been tough on the producer. I think one thing, whenever I look out farther, we still have pretty strong demand. I mean, there's no question about it. And so if I'm a corn producer, am I going to continue to bet on the come, which a lot of us have done the last few years? And in my opinion, I think that keeping a similar acreage ratio is probably the thing to do. It is a tough question, though, for a producer. Am I going to pay average even cash rent? Because right now average cash rent really doesn't look so hot. But one thing that I've noticed is the last several years, we're getting forecasted to have 6-year lows for corn, wheat, and cattle receipts, net cash receipts. The one thing that's really bailed us out these last several years is having a lot of bushels. And so in my opinion, I'm still going to try to plant corn. I'm still going to go for the best yield that I can. And then I'm going to try to manage my risk as best I can, because right now it doesn't look good, but we have had opportunities the last 3 years to make money. We just have to be better at managing our risk.
We had an opportunity earlier this summer to at least get within distance of $4 corn, but it's still a question that, as a rule, cash rents aren't on the average. You're always on the margin.
Yeah, cash rents are probably the biggest issue that probably need to be addressed. Obviously, every landlord, I'm not going to be in good graces here with landowners. Every landlord thinks they have an above-average farm.
Right.
And so cash rent needs to adjust. And hydrous prices have started to come down pretty dramatically. Seed prices, probably not so much. I agree. I'm going to kind of take Matt's attitude here. The glass is still half full. I think there's a chance, before it's said and done in the January crop report, we end up closer to 160 than 170 on national average corn yield. If that's the case, we're going to get some chances. We have to get better at storage, managing basis, managing carry. I think that's going to be critical going forward to manage risk and to help those margins hold together.
Doesn't that leave us, Bob, though, I've always thought about this, okay, if we do get a shot at run back up toward $4, though, there's so much corn that could be released that this could be a 20-minute window.
I think we're setting up almost the exact same pattern for next year as we've seen last year. And two things. I think you got to roll your 1917 D17 hedges to D18. They got a 40-cent carry. Market's telling you to store, roll the carry, capture the carry, wait for basis improvement. But the question I ask yourself, why do you believe you're going to be better next June, July to take advantage of the weather scare event if you take the same behavior in the past? You've got to change your behavior. You got to have a plan. Put it on the blackboard, put a sign out in the front of your lawn and say, I'm going to sell corn starting mid-June, and by July 15th, I'm going to be done, and I'm going to sell at this price, and have every neighbor pick on you for not selling it if you have that price out there. John, that's
no, it still won't work. No, there's some of us can even resist that. But is that kind of what you're thinking too, here, Matt, or where do you fall on that spectrum?
Well, I think the last 3 years, a couple of things that we've seen that's helped producers be able to navigate this is simply buying some calls whenever volatility was low and calls were cheap. Right. And then whenever we get into a summer weather market, if we want to place our hedges in place, we're not going to be too awfully worried about putting those hedges in a bad spot. We're going to take margin risk because we we've got the calls to cover the margin risk. And so I call that an insulated hedge. I like using those as much as possible. I know some producers are a little bit wary of any sort of risk management, but we are going to have to get better at our risk management skills because the way that we're doing is not working. And you know what the definition of insanity is.
Yeah, right. And we're waist deep in risk.
Yes.
And so you don't have an opportunity to say, well, do I want to get involved with handling risk or not? We're already there. Okay, we'll be back in just a moment, and we'll find out what we need to do with Markets Now.
Build your American dream and win Lincoln.
You win 3 ways. Lincoln uses high-quality American steel, and that puts Americans to work. Lincoln buildings are real easy to assemble. Plus, Lincoln makes sure you get the absolute best price.
What made it an easy choice is that Lincoln offers financing. And the building I like is only $95 a month.
Lincoln gives a 40-year warranty.
Putting up this building was very simple. Me and a couple buddies put it up with just 3 or 4 ladders.
Lincoln offers financing, and that's a big deal to me.
And Lincoln is without a doubt the best buy in steel buildings.
Steel prices are rising, so if you want to save money, you need to call now.
Call now for our limited time offer, a 25 by 30 by 12 with frame 10 by 10 opening as low as $6,900. Call 800-310-3816. That's 800-310-3816.
Tired of painful mosquito bites? Horrified when bugs crawl on you? Are mosquitoes and bugs ruining your evening outdoors? Are bugs getting in your house? Now you can get the bugs before they get you with a Zap Light. The Zap Light is both a bug zapper and a bright LED light combined into one. Imagine an evening outside almost completely bug-free. That's what you can get with the Zap Light. And with the increased risk of disease from mosquito bites, there's never been a better time to get a Zap Light than right now. Call now and get a Zap Light for your home for just $19.99. But this offer gets even better. Order right now and you can get 2 Zap Lights. Just pay a separate fee. Order now and you'll also get free shipping. Don't wait another day. Get your Zap Lights right now. To order, call the 800 number on your screen or go to zaplight.com. That's zaplight.com. zaplight.com. Order now.
We're back at the Farm Progress Show at the Channel C tent, and we're going to deal with Markets Now. What's the one thing you want to tell people, Bob?
It's time for the bear to put it aside and the feed buyers to start thinking about accumulating a long position, especially beans for 018 corn, beans below 920.
Okay, Matt?
Yeah, I think, we're coming right up here on harvest, and right now the markets look awfully tough. A couple of things I'd like to look at is, first of all, we've got to be like the grain elevator. I want to sell the carry in the market and watch the basis come back to me, first of all. And second of all, we have to get better at our risk management skills, learn from this year, and carry that into next year.
Okay, that's a tough hill to climb, but I think you're exactly right, and we don't have any choice. Chip?
Yeah, I think right now, don't panic. That's the key. Don't panic. Prices seem like they're lower every day. Do not panic. Recalculate what your costs are and figure out what your yields are, because you might be close to a crop insurance payment here in some areas. And don't panic, and be ready to take that next opportunity on 17 and 18 marketing when we get the chance here in the next few months.
Okay, don't panic. And that's the bottom line from the Farm Progress Show. Thank you for coming.
When each new day begins, we're here. When you want new technology that's tested and proven, we're here. When you need a sounding board or just a good story, we're here. For an ally whose local roots run as deep as yours, or to make next year the best year yet, we'll be where we've been all along, with you from the word go.
There's enough worries facing growers today. SDS shouldn't be one of them. Introducing Olivo, the first and only seed treatment to protect against sudden death syndrome with nematode activity. Growers get amazing early season protection for stronger profits at harvest. So worry about your equipment, or weather, or commodity prices. Don't worry about SDS with Olivo from Bayer Crop Science. Pair Olivo with Poncho Votivo for triple action protection against SDS, insects, and nematodes.
Attention homeowners. Quicken Loans has some very important information regarding the U.S. government's Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP. Nearly 3.5 million homeowners have already taken advantage of this fantastic money-saving program. But there are so many more of you who could be saving hundreds of dollars every month on your mortgage. Quicken Loans is here to help you save money. Why Quicken Loans? The home loan experts at Quicken Loans fully understand the HARP guidelines. We'll work with you to understand your specific circumstances and strive to find the financial solution that's best for you. Then we'll guide you through each step of the mortgage refinance process to make sure that it's both simple and easy. If you weren't HARP eligible in the past, new guidelines could mean that now you are. Give us a call and we'll give you a Quicken Loans mortgage review. It's simple and easy. To learn more about this money-saving U.S. government program, call Quicken Loans today or go to QuickenLoans.com for a mortgage experience that's engineered to amaze.
U.S. Farm Report is brought to you by John Deere. Where can you find the most comprehensive inventory of John Deere certified pre-owned tractors, combines, and sprayers? MachineFinder.com. Sometimes the best new addition to your fleet isn't new.
From the horrific hurricane damage in the south to the dire drought situation to the north, it seems like it's a year of extremes this year. Here's John Phipps.
I'm recording this John's World on Sunday, which is right in the middle of what seems sure to become an epic weather catastrophe, Hurricane Harvey. The insane amounts of rain already dumped on coastal Texas could be matched by even more to come, I'm sorry to say. While I certainly don't doubt the reports, our lack of rain here for the last 2 months makes it hard to truly absorb the scale of the disaster. Economists and psychologists call this the availability heuristic. It means that facts that are closest to us and easiest to see sway our opinions and judgment more. We saw this effect in the reaction to the USDA and Farm Journal crop reports. With the exception of some places like Minnesota, which is looking at a very good crop, by the way, most of us looked out the kitchen window and protested, the crop just isn't there. I could list other examples like climate change or solar power expansion as well. Unless we can see it ourselves in real time, we have a hard time using numbers and even other visual data to believe what is going on. Most of us have been aware of this backyarditis, but another trend will make it more pronounced. Delegitimizing media, government agencies, and academic experts as fake news or corporate shills means we are closing off any communication channels that can balance our availability bias. If the USDA is unfairly and accurately condemned as corrupt or manipulated, we will be limited to what we can see with our own eyes to inform our market decisions. Or, worse yet, we could buy into dubious rumors or outright scams. The same goes for everything from weather forecasts to sports scores. Dismissing information that doesn't fit with our version of reality as fake won't help us cope with that reality when it comes crashing through our beliefs. It really is raining feet of water in Texas. The corn crop is much bigger than it looks from here, and the Arctic is melting. The safest approach seems to me to assume bad news is real until proven otherwise.
Thanks, John. Well, still to come, the historic rainfall amounts created nightmares in the south, but for our friends to the north, the devastating drought is cutting deep, creating difficult financial pain. When we come back, we head to South Dakota to see the situation firsthand.
From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is U.S. Farm Report.
Welcome back to U.S. Farm Report this Labor Day weekend. We have much more ahead. New signals point to possible better days ahead in the farm economy. It's a devastating drought in South Dakota, eating into outlooks and farmers' bottom line. Revisiting history with a little mule power as we travel to the Show Me State with American Countryside. And battling resistance, but is it a once-in-a-century event? That's customer support. Now for the headlines. Despite corn prices plummeting around 70 cents since mid-July, USDA forecasting the first net farm income gain in 4 years, with the livestock sector helping bolster overall incomes this year. And now some economists are saying signals point to better days ahead. It's been a vicious cycle for ag, with net farm income falling since 2013. But USDA signaling hope, forecasting producers may net $63.4 billion in 2017. That's a 13% bump over last year. USDA citing increases in sales of inventory and grain bins, but it's a really higher than expected revenue from livestock and milk, helping boost the overall picture. Farmer Mac telling U.S. Farm Report that USDA's August net farm income forecast tends to be the most reliable one, as in February, the agency is usually more pessimistic on how the year could pan out.
What we do know now that we didn't know then was how much better the livestock sector is. So the earlier projections had a lot lower cash receipts for virtually every corner of the livestock sector, and prices have held up much better. Demand has held up much better for all livestock products. So that's really been the boost. And I think it would be very hard to go back without hindsight and say, oh yeah, here's what would have told us that. So I think what they projected back in February was kind of a base case. If things stay steady, if ceteris paribus, all those types of economist terms, knowing what we knew right then, I think they were probably accurate, but we got better and more information came out as the year progressed, and they incorporated that into the August revisions.
USDA also forecasting some life in farmland values, coming as a surprise to economists like Takish. USDA signaling values may rise 2.3% this year, following a very minor decline, not even 0.5% in 2016.
So this is our once-in-a-generation opportunity to deliver real tax reform for everyday, hardworking Americans.
Well, the president outlining a 4-point tax reform plan this week, saying Americans are demanding historic changes to the tax code. The president says the current tax system is out of control and needs to be cleaned up. Missouri Cattlemen's Beef Association Executive Director Mike Deering was in the crowd this week. He told me his message to the president is to reduce the tax burden without creating new problems for farmers and ranchers, but says the outlook for getting comprehensive reform passed seems grim.
I feel like this is going to be far more controversial than even the health care bill. We didn't get the health care bill done, and that's a huge burden on the farm and ranch families that we represent. I mean, they talk about taxes, they talk about health care. Those are two things top of mind for our members, and I am cautiously optimistic. I'm skeptical that a massive comprehensive tax reform package can get through Congress. Very skeptical. But at the same time, let's give it a shot.
Deering says of all the president's speeches, this week's speech seemed to have the loudest message to rural America, not just for farmers and ranchers, but also the businesses that are the backbone of rural communities. Well, one of the main manufacturers of newer dicamba formulations is sticking by this year's product label, saying the company supports the label as it stands. Monsanto Company talking to Ag Web at Farm Progress Show this week, saying they've been on over 1,000 calls, and their findings show the current label on Xtend herbicide works if followed properly. Now, this contradicts University of Illinois weed specialist Aaron Hager's view, with estimates pointing to more than 3 million acres damaged by dicamba this year. He says the label needs to be updated before the 2018 growing season.
I think there's going to be a lot of look from the regulatory agencies. Do we need to modify these labels moving forward into 2018 to try to avoid some of these things? I guess I would really be absolutely shocked if the labels of these products in 2018 are identical to what they are in 2017.
Monsanto telling Ag Web that even the smallest variance from the label could lead to off-target movement. That includes wind and sprayer speeds, the nozzle used, as well as temperature inversions.
Agriculture's national forecast is brought to you by Ilevo Seed Treatment from Bayer.
All right, that's it for the news. Meteorologist Cindy Clausen joins us now for weather. Cindy, how's September shaping up?
Well, it's definitely shaping up on the warm side in the western part of the country. We have this big ridge in the jet stream, so we're going to be seeing some very warm air there. You can see the trough in the east, so we're seeing some cooler temperatures, especially over into the northeastern United States. And as we put this into motion, we just kind of see things amplifying. We'll see this big trough starting to dig more so into the eastern part of the country, while that ridge gets even further into Canada. So look for some real warmth as we head through this week in the western part of the country. So it's going to be really kind of of a battle of which side of the country you're on to determine what those temperatures are going to be. We'll finally see things kind of evening out, though, in the eastern part of the country, kind of warming up as we get towards the end of the week. All right, let's take a look then at how things are shaping up over the next 30 days. Overall, we're looking at below normal temperatures for much of the nation's midsection, little on the warm side in the far northeast and down in Florida, as well as much of the western United States. And as we look at the precipitation, looks like it's going to be above normal for a lot of the eastern part of the country and getting over towards the Four Corners region, a little on the dry side in some of those drier areas already, upper Midwest and into the west. That's a look at your national forecast. Now back to you, Tyne.
Thanks, Cindy. We've been focusing on Hurricane Harvey this weekend, but our friends to the north suffering from not enough rain. The latest drought monitor shows Montana seeing the worst of it, with nearly 100% of the state in drought and 90% experiencing severe conditions. A similar story in North and South Dakota, with 84% of South Dakota under some level of dryness. While that is a slight improvement from a week ago, the reality remains the same. Drought is robbing farmers of yield. Here's Betsy Gibbon with this week's Farm Journal report.
A tough year does not even begin to describe what this growing season has been like for western South Dakota producers.
I can't remember a year like this.
A dry winter and a hot and rainless summer shut plants down.
Some of those that are just blistering, I don't think they're going to make it.
2/3 of the state is in a moderate drought. Nearly half is in severe.
Nothing's going to be in all those spots.
And Presho producer Dennis Stanley is in the middle of it.
You got ears that are like this. And they just started up when we started getting rain.
The area received some rain earlier in the month, but it did not come in time.
But it does give us hope.
Dennis says he will harvest this field.
If our corn could do 70, we'd probably all be thrilled at this point. If I had cattle, I would be cutting all of it for silage, I'd say.
Many did, baling thousands of acres of wheat. Sorghum may be next.
Does that have any chance of making it? There's no way this is going to make seed. I mean, there doesn't look like there's a lot of feed value here. It's so short, but it's still, people are so desperate for hay this year and for feed that I'm sure he would bale it.
25 miles east, the farmers say the corn is still behind in maturity, but they're pleased with how it looks.
Yep, it's phenomenal with the shortage of rain, how that's filled out almost completely to the end. Yep, that'll make corn.
Reliant South Dakota producer Thad Schindler says August rains helped, and luckily those showers found him.
A couple inches where 10 miles down the road they didn't get nothing.
In fact, it completely changed his plans to chop the crop for silage.
What we thought we were going to cut for silage is going to make good corn now.
Both producers say this drought is worse than 2012.
Even though it was a drought year, it was a good year for us. And the 2012s and the 13s and the good years we had, we're going to have to dip into some of that right now.
A worse year for conditions, but the economics are not the same.
Our crop insurance prices were set close to $6. We're not going to be $4 this year. We're not going to have anywhere close to our guarantees.
Thanks, Betsy. Also, hay relief is underway for North Dakota ranchers. Officials asking individuals who want to donate hay or even truck it, call the drought hotline. That's 701-425-8454. Up next, John Phipps has this week's customer support.
Once you cut a tree down, what do you do about the stump? Grind it down with a DR Stump Grinder, the fast, easy, and affordable solution for stump removal. Thanks to the power of a world-class engine and carbide-tipped cutting teeth, the DR Stump Grinder tackles any size stump. With each pass, these teeth quickly shave the stump down, taking a remarkable 360 bites per second. In no time, the stump is completely gone. All that's left behind is a pile of wood chips. Get behind the power of a DR Stump Grinder to rid your property of tree stumps forever.
Call 1-800-731-0446 for your free buyer's guide and DVD. Learn how you can try a DR Stump Grinder for 1 full year. With our special financing plan, you can own a DR by making low monthly payments. Free shipping is in effect, so call today, 1-800-731-0446. Online at drstumpgrinder.com.
Lugging your things up and down the stairs is a real hassle. Well, not anymore. Now there's Climb Cart, the new and innovative folding cart that climbs stairs with you. So instead of lifting, you simply roll the Climb Cart upstairs with little effort. So now you'll finally get a break hauling that laundry upstairs. Or add our jumbo-sized carry bag. Now bringing multiple heavy bags of groceries into the house is simple. Whether you're going upstairs or down, the Climb Cart gets you around town. Then the lightweight, sturdy frame folds flat and stores anywhere. As part of this special TV offer, you'll get the Climb Cart and free carry bag for the low price of only $39.99. But hold everything. If you order right now, we'll ship it to you free. Plus, all of today's orders come with our 10-year guarantee, but you must call or log on now.
Call 1-800-499-6188 to get your Climb Cart. Call now or go to getclimbcart.com. So call 1-800-499-6188. That's 1-800-499-6188. Call now.
John's comments on dicamba recently stirring up some conversation, and this week it's about the battle over weed resistance. John?
Okay, this isn't exactly a reader email, but it struck me as important. Bob Hartzler, a prominent weed scientist whom I follow on Twitter, posted this tweet recently. Authors state the time for pesticide stewardship is now. Are herbicides a once-in-a-century method of weed control? He is linking to a report by Adam Davis and George Frisvold from the USDA Agricultural Research Service, published in June. You can go to Bob's timeline or mine for the link. Unfortunately, this is you have to pay to read it. You can rent it for 48 hours for $6, or plunk down $38 like I did to download the whole file. If you have more than 10 years left in your career, I suggest you cough up the $38. Basically, the authors took a careful look at the growing problem of weed resistance, the lack of any new modes of actions in the last 30 years, and farmer practices, and then suggest we take the small but very real chance of the end of effective herbicide weed control much more seriously than we have been. This year could be a mental turning point for many of us, as resistant weeds are rampant across the Midwest and pandemic in the South. GMO seeds may have bought some time, but probably not as much as we hoped. Making crops tolerant to chemicals does not alter the fact that the weeds are doing so on their own. New modes of actions, or ways that chemicals can kill plants, are not in the pipeline either, just tolerant crops to existing herbicides. Now, when you factor in rapidly rising costs for both seeds and herbicides and a grim outlook for commodity prices, the economics of our way of farming will surely be tested. While the authors outline prudent steps to husband the dwindling power of herbicide weed control, my read of their recommendations is they require more cooperation and foresight than our industry has ever demonstrated. Imagine only being able to buy your preferred herbicide every other year, for example. Moreover, we are rapidly dismantling the regulatory apparatus that would manage such measures. Nor does there seem to be the political will or public funds needed to induce farmers to act in unison to prevent herbicide failure. There are many sound reasons to disagree with this doomsday prediction. The odds of that future, however, are not zero.
If you have questions or comments, you can contact John by emailing him at mailbag@usfarmreport.com. Well, when we come back, we're off to a small town in the Show Me State that made a name for itself during World War I. And it was all because of the community's animal power. Andrew McRae has that story after the break.
Invisible, invasive, underestimated. Nematodes are stealing over 10% of yields, and current protection methods aren't enough. But a new seed treatment technology controls nematodes before they attack. Introducing NemaStrike technology. It provides broad spectrum control from the start and stays in the root zone as plants grow. Take back your bushels with NemaStrike technology. Strike where nematodes attack.
When each new day begins, we're here. When you want new technology that's tested and proven, we're here. When you need a sounding board or just a good story, we're here. For an ally whose local roots run as deep as yours, or to make next year the best year yet. We'll be where we've been all along, with you from the word go.
Attention homeowners. Quicken Loans has some very important information regarding the U.S. government's Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP. Nearly 3.5 million homeowners have already taken advantage of this fantastic money-saving program. But there are so many more of you who could be saving hundreds of dollars every month on your mortgage. Quicken Loans is here to help you save money. Why Quicken Loans? The home loan experts at Quicken Loans fully understand the HARP guidelines. We'll work with you to understand your specific circumstances and strive to find the financial solution that's best for you. Then we'll guide you through each step of the mortgage refinance process to make sure that it's both simple and easy. If you weren't HARP eligible in the past, new guidelines could mean that now you are. Give us a call and we'll give you a Quicken Loans mortgage review. It's simple and easy. To learn more about this money-saving U.S. government program, call Quicken Loans today or go to QuickenLoans.com for a mortgage experience that's engineered to amaze.
Each year, Labor Day reminds us of the contributions workers have made to the strength, prosperity, and overall well-being of the United States. But to appreciate the current state, we need to reflect back on history. This weekend, we travel the countryside with Andrew McCrae.
World War I claimed the lives of about 11 million soldiers, both friend and foe. The National World War I Museum in Kansas City tells the story of that conflict. Mechanized vehicles and airplanes were just making their debut on the battlefield. It was a war that still relied heavily on animal power, a fact that had strong ties to the American heartland.
Mules were a major animal of transport, beast of burden for the armed forces, primarily for the Allies.
Those animals were used to pull artillery pieces and other supplies, and were used as riding animals as well. They were always in demand.
There were never enough, even when the Americans started supplying mules and horses. But the Spaniards were the primary source of mules, and of course they were neutral, so they supplied them to both sides.
But the United States became an important supplier too. When World War I began, it's estimated Germany had about 6 million horses and mules. France and England combined had 4 million. The United States had 25 million. In the U.S., it was a company called Guyton and Harrington, with headquarters in Lathrop, Missouri, that became a major source of animal power.
5,500,000 mules.
Estill Williams' family has century-old roots in the area, and he remembers reading a newspaper article as a kid stating just how big that operation was.
It was Ripley's Believe It or Not, and one issue said the largest barn in the world is at Lathrop, Missouri, Guyton and Harrington's horse and mule operations.
The company owned about 5,000 acres of pasture in the Lathrop area alone, enough space to house 102,000 horses and mules at one time. They employed 500 buying agents in practically every state in the Union. There was certainly a need for horses and mules in farming operations, but when the war began, the demand in Europe was great.
I would say probably the British were the #1 buyer, and they had residents here for them to stay when they come over.
Lathrop was a town of 2,000, with rail lines bringing over 100 trains a day. Stock could be unloaded at several company-owned facilities along the Missouri and Mississippi rivers where they could eat and rest before crossing the ocean. During the course of World War I, Guyton and Harrington sold Britain 180,000 head of mules and another 170,000 head of horses. Today, the barns are gone. A few mules can still be found, but the history lives on.
Well, of course, it put Lathrop on the map, you know. Even today, you know, you can get, of course, we travel distances anymore, and you'll mention you're from Lathrop, well, that's a horse and mule town, you know, and I'm kind of shocked sometimes.
The stockyards here in Lathrop could load over 1,000 horses and mules in 1 hour's time. Stock all headed across the ocean to help fight the war in Europe. It was an amazing operation that truly made this the mule capital of the world. Traveling the countryside in Lathrop, Missouri, I'm Andrew McCrae.
Thanks, Andrew. And to hear more of Andrew's travels, you can check those out online at AmericanCountryside.com. But when we come back, Machinery Pete pays tribute to a classic WD-45 on this Labor Day weekend.
This is a national health alert from the 24/7 Diabetic Health Hotline. If you, a family member, or a loved one has diabetes, we have important news. If you lost your supplier or if you need one, you may qualify to receive diabetic testing supplies now with little or no out-of-pocket cost, regardless of your age. All you need is Medicare or private insurance to potentially be eligible. Call the 24/7 Diabetic Health Hotline now for details. Toll free at this number. Get free, no obligation information, free delivery to your door, and all the insurance paperwork is handled by our accredited agents for free. Call right now and you will also receive a free pedometer as our special gift to you. Regardless of your age, if you or a loved one needs diabetic supplies and you have Medicare or private insurance, we can help.
Call the 24/7 Diabetic Health Hotline at 1-800-634-8201. That's 1-800-634-8201.
You win 3 ways. Lincoln uses high-quality American steel, and that puts Americans to work. Lincoln buildings are real easy to assemble. Plus, Lincoln makes sure you get the absolute best price.
What made it an easy choice is that Lincoln offers financing. And the building I like is only $95 a month.
Lincoln gives a 40-year warranty.
Putting up this building was very simple. Me and a couple buddies put it up with just 3 or 4 ladders.
Lincoln offers financing, and that's a big deal to me.
And Lincoln is without a doubt the best buy in steel buildings.
Steel prices are rising, so if you want to save money, you need to call now.
Call now for our limited time offer, a 25 by 30 by 12 with frame 10 by 10 opening as low as $6,900. Call 800-310-3816. That's 800-310-3816.
Tractor Tales is brought to you by John Deere. Where can you find the most comprehensive inventory of John Deere certified pre-owned tractors, combines, and sprayers? MachineFinder.com. Sometimes the best new addition to your fleet isn't new.
Welcome back to Tractor Tales, folks. This week's for you Allis Chalmers lovers. We're heading to Illinois to check out a classic WD-45. This Allis was purchased new in 1955 and has been on the farm ever since. Today, after a facelift or two, this classic Allis shows off its stripes at local parades.
This tractor was purchased new by my father-in-law. I wasn't my father-in-law at that time, but anyhow, new by him in 1955, and it's been on the farm ever since. There was a time when he was in Kentucky for 2 or 3 years in his retirement, and I took the tractor to Kentucky for him, and at his passing I went down and I brought it back, and at that point we polished it up a little bit and overhauled it and put some tires on it, and she's joined our collection. It was our heavy tractor. We pulled a 3-bottom plow, and it did a pretty remarkable job and we don't have the heaviest ground, but it did a very good job, and we spent a lot of hours on it. That crossbar, that's for a mirror, again for tractor drive, and we got our Garmin mounted there, and I moved the controls, the ammeter and the switch, moved up easier for me to reach than it was when it was down where it was when it was built. Clutches and a lot of seals, radiator work, water pump work, all clutch work, and tires, just normal routine maintenance, yeah. And it's fallen into tractor drive duty. I don't like riding it particularly, but I still like the tractor. It's very, very tough, easy to work on, easy to haul, just a nice tractor.
Today's Country Church Salute goes to the Grace Episcopal Church located in Clarksville, Mississippi. Started in 1869 by a group of about 20 community members, today the church is actually no longer a place of worship, but instead a home, remodeled on the inside but maintained in its original state on the outside to keep the church look and feel. Thanks for sending that in. And if you have a home church that you would like to submit, you can do that to the address on the screen. All right, stay with us. We have From the Farm photos next.
What can you do right now at MachineFinder.com?
Search used equipment inventory from hundreds of John Deere dealers nationwide. Search by make, model, year, hours, price, specs, and location, including competitive brands. And search the most comprehensive inventory of John Deere certified pre-owned tractors, combines, and sprayers. All with a 1-year Power Guard protection plan and JD Link subscription. MachineFinder.com. Sometimes the best new addition to your fleet isn't new.
When each new day begins, we're here. When you want new technology that's tested and proven, we're here. When you need a sounding board or just a good story, we're here. For an ally whose local roots run as deep as yours, or to make next year the best year yet, we'll be where we've been all along, with you from the word go.
Attention homeowners. Quicken Loans has some very important information regarding the U.S. government's Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP. Nearly 3.5 million homeowners have already taken advantage of this fantastic money-saving program. But there are so many more of you who could be saving hundreds of dollars every month on your mortgage. Quicken Loans is here to help you save money. Why Quicken Loans? The home loan experts at Quicken Loans fully understand the HARP guidelines. We'll work with you to understand your specific circumstances and strive to find the financial solution that's best for you. Then we'll guide you through each step of the mortgage refinance process to make sure that it's both simple and easy. If you weren't HARP eligible in the past, new guidelines could mean that now you are. Give us a call and we'll give you a Quicken Loans mortgage review. It's simple and easy. To learn more about this money-saving U.S. government program, call Quicken Loans today or go to QuickenLoans.com for a mortgage experience that's engineered to amaze.
Welcome back. Well, Maine wild blueberry harvest wrapped up this week. Katie tells us wild blueberries are a small, hardy berry that's thrived in the harsh climates of areas like Maine, eastern Canada, and Quebec for thousands of years. But she says this year was tough as it was extremely dry in down east Maine. Thankfully, they have about 5,000 acres of irrigated land, and it's that water that really helped boost yields this year. Any land that wasn't under irrigation was off by more than 50% from previous year's yields. And it's a very labor-intensive crop. She tells us with a total of 166 people harvesting during the peak of season on their farm. And one of those totes right there in that picture weighs 300 pounds. Thanks for sending that in, Katie. And congratulations to our Facebook cover photo winner, Richard Wright. He captured Mississippi Delta cotton field at sunset. How pretty. You can see those blooms. For all of us from U.S. Farm Report, thank you so much for watching this Labor Day weekend. Be sure to join us again right here next week as we work to build on our tradition. Have a great weekend, everyone.
U.S. Farm Report, America's longest-lasting news program for farmers, is powered by Ram Trucks, America's longest-lasting pickups. U.S. Farm Report is produced and distributed by Farm Journal Broadcast.